Patreon Q&A number 141. I want to thank all 136 of my incredible patrons. Guys, thank you so much for continuing to support me the way that you have been. And to everyone else listening, there's going to be spoilers for all of the series I'm going to be talking about, so tread carefully. Bob S. asks, after unlocking Danger Sense, could Deku beat Endeavor? They're both bloodlusted for this fight, so this is a great question, and I think it would be pretty competitive at this point, right? But I think like the major X factor here is Endeavor's Health Flame quirk. Like if Izuku gets hit by that, once or maybe twice, 3 at the most, he's pretty much done, right? I mean, he is pretty durable and tough, obviously, but I don't think he's gonna be able to take that. So Izuku is gonna have to be near perfect in this fight, using Danger Sense, which he's not like a master at yet, on top of just using his crazy physicality. Now, I guess the same kind of goes for Izuku, hitting Endeavor as well. Like if Endeavor gets hit by like a 100% smash, I doubt he's going to be able to get up after that. But aside from that, I'm not really sure what percentage Izuku has to use at the minimum for him to like put Endeavor down with like a couple punches, because Endeavor is pretty powerful himself. Like without having a quirk that makes him, super strong, he's easily one of the physically strongest characters in the series. So I'm not really sure what percentage of One For All Izuku would have to use for him to not like put too much of a burden on his body, but also like definitively out-muscle Endeavor. And of course, Izuku has plenty of tools to avoid Endeavor and, pick him off with his shots if he wants. Like he could just float and hit him with air forces and stuff like that. Not really sure how useful Black Whip would be, because Endeavor would just probably melt it. Like I think it would ultimately come down to Izuku having to use Danger Sense the best he's ever used it to avoid ever being hit by those flames. And he would have to time the best moment to hit Endeavor with like 1 or 2 shots at the most. So that's where Fa Jin could come into play. If he could somehow set up Fa Jin and hit Endeavor with it, then I think he's probably going to be done by that, right? Like using it in combination with like a smash or something. But like I said, Endeavor could win this too by just hitting Izuku with like a fire blast or something. And also Endeavor has a very high fight IQ. That could also come into play here. So like I said, it's a pretty competitive matchup. And I don't think there's like a definitive winner here. I think it's more of like, this guy would win this amount of times out of 10 or something like that, Dino W asks, what human on Earth in Dragon Ball would have to do to get as strong as one of the characters like Goku, Vegeta, Jiren, and Hit? So they would just have to learn like God Ki, I guess, because it's implied that like pretty much anyone can learn God Ki. It's just extremely difficult and you need to know how to do it. So you'd have to go through like, Beerus or Whis or somebody. Could current manga Izuku beat the USJ Nomu, Hood-chan, and Gigantomachia? So I don't know about the USJ Nomu because he seems a little too much even at this point for Izuku, but I think he would have a better chance against Hood and maybe even Gigantomachia. I think like if he jumps up to Gigantomachia's face and hits him with like a 100% smash, that's definitely going to do some serious damage to him, I think. I don't think it's going to KO him, but it's definitely going to put a step in the right direction. First Wolf asks, how do you think Fa Jin works? So like you said, it hasn't really been explained yet, and the whole kinetic energy being stored up stuff is kind of just speculation and going off of like what we actually see on the page in combination of the literal definition of Fa Jin, which means to issue or discharge power explosively or refining the explosive power, and it is not specific to any particular striking method. So considering how it plays out in the manga, he could be storing up kinetic energy maybe in order to perform the Fa Jin quirk, and that allows him to do like one super exaggerated movement, like we saw he did like the Super Hulk jump, and I think he could probably do that with any other thing, like sprinting or punching or something like that. Kohler R asks, gym routine? So I just mainly do push-pull legs, but on leg day I also hit triceps because I don't really need to have that intense of a leg day because I already genetically have like good legs, so it's not really that big of a deal to me. So I don't really have to have like a full day dedicated to them, and that allows me to have my other days just focused on 2 separate things like chest, shoulders, or back biceps. And I usually go like 6 days a week, but some days maybe it's 5 or 4 at the minimum. L asks, what do you think will happen next? Garou seems less cohesive at this point than he did in the webcomic. Yeah, I think he might be like unconscious or like in a feral state right now, similar to how he was when he originally woke up after getting beat by Orochi. So It's possible that somebody might do something to him, like maybe Bomb hits him in the head or something and wakes him up like Darkshine did maybe, or maybe Fubuki does something to him that wakes him up. But regardless, I don't think he's going to be that active because like still a lot needs to happen before he starts getting his hands dirty, unless the manga changes that much and Garou just starts wiping the floor with everyone before like the other major feats happen from the other characters. Little Ferrari asks, would you rather have had Orochi fight the S-Class in his form that he used against Saitama, or do you like everything with Sairochi? I would have really preferred for the S-Class to collectively fight Orochi, like probably in his form going against Saitama. Like the Sairochi stuff was fun against Tatsumaki and everything, but I also would have enjoyed that if afterwards that led to, you know, Orochi going against the S-Class heroes and they had like an extended fight against him. I'm also not too much of a fan of the jet stuff. Like instead of using all of that stalling that happened, you could have replaced that with just the S-Class heroes taking on Orochi, and that could have also led to Drive Knight getting cells from him. Mainstream Anime asks, if Darkshine were to fight every cadre, could you rank how he would be able to low or high diff them individually or just not be able to beat them at all? So Black S, he would have to be able to vaporize him in order to defeat him. Same thing goes for Evil Natural Water. He hasn't really shown that he's been able to do that yet, or at least it hasn't been explicitly stated that he is in fact vaporizing them, so I'm not sure if he will ultimately be able to defeat these two characters. Elder Centipede, I'm not sure about him either because he's so ridiculous. In order for him to solo Elder Centipede, he would have to be pushed to his highest difficulty, I guess. Pure Ugly, I think he could probably take care of him like a mid-diff, maybe even lower than that. Goketsu, I'm not even sure if he could defeat Goketsu because I think he would probably run into the same issues he did with Garou, although Goketsu wouldn't be holding back at all, so it probably wouldn't turn out too well for him. Gums, I think the same thing for Fear Ugly, you know, mid, maybe lower than that. Homeless Emperor, same thing. He's walking through those blasts and just popping him like a grape. Neon, I think, you know, low to mid diff. I don't think he's presenting him too much problems here. And then Overgrown Rover, I think he can take those blasts, but it might get to the point of where he might be overwhelmed by them. Not really sure. If he is able to defeat Overgrown Rover, I think it would be a very high diff as well. What characters do you think are going to get Zenkais next? I would like it if Tank Top Master got a Zenkai. I think that would be pretty cool, and it would further go into the whole like maybe his tank top is monsterfying or something. I think that would be pretty interesting. Mr.Awsome asks, if Saitama were to lose, would you rather he get no diff by an omnipotent being or be taken down by someone that is a bit stronger than him? I'd like him to be taken down by someone a bit stronger than him because I think Saitama deserves to have a super competitive fight that eventually leads to him just narrowly being defeated. In story, you know, going off of the narrative, it would be kind of lame if just some omnipotent guy were to just no diff him or something. Second question, do you think Puri will always be at the bottom of the OG S-Class? Not really sure because it's like up in the air who is clearly at the bottom of the OGS class right now. I mean, he definitely is in the lowest tier for sure, but if he is directly at the bottom, I'm not really sure if he is. And considering the way that he gets a lot of incremental focus in the series, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets like a power up and like surpasses like Pig God or somebody like that. Natedawg asks, let's say Saitama overslept and just wasn't able to fight Boros. If you were in charge of making a plan for the S-Class to attack Boros, what's the plan? No blast, and you can only use a combination of 4 S-Class heroes, so I only need to pick King. I legitimately think that if King were to encounter Boros, he could probably talk him into leaving. I think in story that would play out that way. Samurai asks, I think you misunderstood my previous question. I was wondering how the original Guardians could they take down Omni-Man? I mean, it really doesn't seem like they could do much more other than just having the element of surprise on him. Like if they were to gang up on him and catch him the way that he caught them, then maybe they could beat him. I mean, they did push him to passing out. So I guess if they were to just catch him off guard the way that he caught them, then I guess there's a chance they could defeat him, right? I mean, he was closest to death, or, you know, whatever he was at the end of the first episode than he ever was afterwards in the series. And also it would probably help if they somehow recruited like the Battle Beast dude to come help them. Do you think the reason Teach's Logia doesn't work is because it's the dark fruit and the counter is light and there's always light around? Hey, it's very possible that that's the case, and I wouldn't be surprised if that's how Oda explains it later on if he does decide to explain it. I always just assumed that it was Oda just nerfing the dark fruit because if he didn't, it would just be way too OP. OP. Could Blackbeard have taken Ashura, or would Zoro be able to take him out with it? I don't think he'd take him out with it. It would definitely wreck Blackbeard and hurt him, especially because of his fruits drawback, but I don't think Zoro's taking down Blackbeard with an Ashura, at least not right now. Sean H asked, I was wondering what Andy's disaster level would be from Undead Unluck. So I haven't read this series yet, but if it gets more popular and gets an anime, then I might check it out. But considering what you're saying about how he seemingly can't die even if the universe ended, I guess he would be God, or maybe even above God. StarReaper asks, what other series do you feel like the author might not be able to make it to the end of the manga? So I think Hunter x Hunter probably won't have an ending, and I'm not saying because Togashi's gonna die or anything. Obviously, I don't want that to happen. I hope he lives forever, but I really wouldn't be surprised if Togashi just retires or just decides to stop producing Hunter x Hunter, and it's like, oh, it's over now, and it's not gonna have a proper ending. Sorry, guys, oh well. Who's your favorite second tier character in My Hero? I guess Uraraka would fit that description, right? She's one of my favorite characters in the series. She's one of my favorite characters in battle manga and anime, period. I really like her, and I think Horikoshi has written and handled her pretty well, at least for, you know, everything that he's done so far. Zapphod B asks, if Fubuki were trying to give Saitama's energy to Tank Top Master instead of Bomb, what do you think would happen? That's a pretty interesting question. And if this were able to happen, I'll say, I guess Tank Top Master would just be instantly healed and he would like shoot up like he got like a shot of adrenaline or something. I don't think it would buff him or anything. Do you think the Sword Master with the blades on his feet could have been the one who trained Feather? So Zapphod, I'm gonna be straight up here. I did not notice at first that Amahare had blades on his feet. I only realized it after you had brought it up here. I think it would be pretty interesting if he trained Feather, and I could totally see that being revealed. I mean, it's just as random as Nichiren training Spring Mustachio, right? Although, you know, Feather's blades aren't necessarily the same as Amahare's. His go out like horizontally, and Amahare's like stick out from the side of his feet, as where Feather's like go forward. But that's pretty much it for the video today, guys. Once again, I want to thank all 136 of my amazing patrons, and if you would like to be in next week's Q&A, simply check out the Patreon. Link is in the description. $5 tier will give you access to the video, and if you haven't already, please subscribe as well. Have a great day. I'll see you in the next one.